Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about the new Stephen King film, The Long Walk. This is a film that's directed by Francis Lawrence from I Am Legend, Constantine, and for most of the Hunger Games sequels, he directed most of those. This is his latest film. In The Long Walk, you guys, it is based off of a Stephen King story, like I said. He did write it under the pen name Richard Bachman, which is something he did quite frequently whenever he wrote a story that he wasn't quite sure how the general public was going to react to. And so The Long Walk is one of those stories that happens to follow under that Richard Bachman name, which I think Stephen King has kind of withdrew over the years and kind of like, yeah, I'm Richard Bachman and so and so. But this is a Stephen King story nonetheless. And in this film, you guys, we do follow a dystopian future where there's a competition that takes place once a year called the Long Walk. This is something where if you have sponsors, if you are basically able to win a lottery number and like a special kind of raffle for each state, you would be selected as kind of that representative of the state that you live in to compete in this competition, where basically you have a starting point and you and 49 other contestants have to do this really long walk on the road. And the person who basically is the last person standing wins. There is no breaks, though. There's no bathroom breaks, no sleeping breaks, or anything like that. You just keep walking until the last person stands. And so basically, we follow this group of characters that are basically all in it to win the competition, whether it's for money, whether it's for a certain prize, whether it's for a certain economic status they're trying to achieve, or with some cases, like you'll find out in the film, a certain kind of motivation that they're trying to successfully achieve. And over the course of this film, we find out, why exactly some of these characters are competing in such a brutal competition. And it's one of those things too, where if you do stop walking, if you have too many warnings, one of the military people who are supervising the competition will shoot you on sight. So it is important that you're the very last person standing to win the competition. And it is one of those things where, like I said, they do keep walking until there's only one person left on the road. And we follow these group of characters over the course of the film, why exactly they're doing what they're doing, why they're trying to compete, why they put their name into this lottery raffle to see if they could compete in the first place. And we find out exactly what some of the motivations are over the course of this film and why all these contestants are trying to compete in the long walk to begin with. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this film quite a bit. It is a very brutal film, so do go into this film knowing that it's not going to be for everybody. If you really can't handle violence, if you really can't handle really intense kind of blood and gore moments, there is quite a bit of that in this film, unfortunately. So it is a very violent Stephen King film. It is one of his more violent stories, I would say, in more recent years. But it is one of those films, though, where it does have an interesting concept going for it. It does have some interesting things to say about our society and about gun violence and how people kind of deal with grief, deal with mental illness, deal with intense situations. It does have a lot of interesting commentary on those kind of things and material. And I do want to go over some positives and negatives as why The Long Walk overall worked for me, why I thought it was a good film, but why there's also some negatives along the way that might prevent this from being probably one of my more favorite Stephen King adaptations, because there is some negatives along the way that kind of prevent it from becoming that kind of an experience for me. But overall, for my positives of this film, there's a character we follow in this film. His name is Pete. He's played by one of the actors from Alien Romulus. I unfortunately don't know his name. I forgot to look it up before the review. But Cooper Hoffman, who's Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, also has a big role in this film too. I would say those two characters, the Pete one and the Cooper Hoffman one, are really kind of the two characters you're rooting for over the course of this film. Thankfully, they have a lot of screen time. Thankfully, they have a lot to do in the story. And there's also a lot of interesting commentary regarding their characters and regarding their motivations as to why they're even doing the competition to begin with. And it is one of those things, too, where they do develop these characters over the course of this long walk that they go on. So that's a pretty cool thing that they're able to achieve here. And, yeah, even kind of the energy that the Pete character brought, the motivations, how he's always kind of encouraging his fellow contestants to keep walking with him, keep, singing along to songs or, keep talking, getting a chance for everybody to get to know each other and stuff like that. I liked how he really made this brutal competition something where people are kind of forced to voice their opinion or voice why they're there or voice why they like or dislike something. So there is an interesting way that the film does allow both the Pete character and the Cooper Hoffman character to kind of get these contestants involved with each other and get them an opportunity to kind of getting to know each other as well. So I thought that was also an interesting thing that was handled over the course of this film of getting to know these characters, finding a way to keep the screenplay going while making sure that all of them are kind of competing in this long walk together, and it's not just a group of characters walking. There actually is some development that's happening as well, too. I also liked how real this film felt. I like how real this future felt as well. It really did feel like they were going with a dystopian future that really doesn't feel too far off from where we are now. So whether it is the economic status, whether it is the gun violence situation, whether it is people just struggling in general, mental health kind of getting worse. There's a lot of really relevant stuff in this film, and it's strangely enough because the film was written, I believe, over 50 years ago from Stephen King himself. There's still a lot of relevance to this story today, and there's even certain points in the story where it almost feels even more relevant today than when it was first written. I really do like how this isn't a future where we have flying cars or any of that kind of stuff. This really is a future of what if the economics got worse? What if the gun violence got worse? What if the mental health thing got worse? What if people really did start to struggle and they really were kind of okay with competing in this long walk just to find the prize that they need to kind of get their life back on track? And so the film does find a lot of reasonable ways to kind of get you invested into why these characters are doing what they're doing, because a lot of them, specifically when you find out some of the backstories on some of them, for the ones that we do learn anyway, it really does kind of make sense why they're so willing to compete in this competition and why they want the prize as bad as anybody else might. I also like how the film makes a point, specifically the Pete character, going back to him again, about how choosing your moments is very important in your life, how it can really get you through a rough time. It can really kind of make the best day of your life the even better part of your life, and how it can really kind of stand in your memory even longer if you really are good about choosing those moments that you want to keep with you. And I do like how the Pete character really does make that point of choosing your moments and making sure during your rough times that you are choosing moments to kind of better develop yourself, better find happiness, better find things that make you the way you are, and keeping on to those and holding on to the memories and all that other stuff. And so I like how the film does make a good point about choosing moments and really making the most out of your life even during the roughest times that sometimes might fall upon you. The film also, like I said, mentioned earlier, the film has a very effective way of commenting on gun violence, how it really is kind of a scary situation that the second somebody gets a hold of a gun, they can just become the most ruthless, most awful person you can imagine, and how it really is a lot of moments in this film where specifically characters dealing with really bad mental health, how they really feel like that's the only way out they can get out of a problem. And it really does have a very scary viewpoint on sometimes this is something that really does go on in the USA, and how there really is a lot of bad stuff that happens due to gun violence, due to gun control, and how the film really does make a point of just how bad it can get if the wrong person gets a hold of a weapon and things like that. So there really is some effective commentary here on that kind of stuff. So do go into this film knowing, like I said, it's not for everybody. There really is some stuff in this film that really is kind of devastating to watch at times, but it does have some very effective commentary on gun violence I thought was really effective here. I also like how the film does depict and create variety for the walking sequences. Like I said, it's not just characters walking on this long road until whoever wins the competition. They do find ways to show the way the footprints are going on the ground, or the way we see kind of the fields and the towns that they're going through, and kind of what's going on with that, and how being able to see a family and kind of seeing certain characters' viewpoints of what is a family, what isn't one, what's a healthy family, what's a not so healthy one, what's kind of an alarming one to find out about. I do like how the film, like I said, does create a way of showing a variety of different things while also keeping us on track of what is going on in the long walk with these characters. How many miles have they gone for now? How many days have they gone on for now? If there's, have some of them lasted a certain amount of days for the competition? So I just liked how the screenplay found tons of variety to show us as to exactly how this long walk played out. And overall, for the most part, this is a very effectively devastating film to watch. There really is a lot of moments where you really are kind of taken aback at just how brutal some of these contestants get taken out of this competition and what was kind of their final way out to their closure of the story and how their participation in this event kind of came to an end for a lot of them. It really is very effective stuff and really devastating stuff as far as how some of these contestants didn't make it through the long walk overall. But for my negatives of the long walk, I thought overall more backstory felt needed for some of these characters. Yeah, characters like Pete and Cooper Hoffman and Ben Wang from Karate Kid Legends has a role in this as well. And some of them have a pretty effective, for the most part, backstory, whether it's them just explaining it or a very quick flashback being shown. There is a lot of other characters, though, where even though we kind of get cool little plot twists maybe with some of them, we don't get to really learn a lot about some of them. And some of them really seem to have a lot to say about this dystopian future that this story takes place in. And so it really would have been nice to see even more backstories for even more of these characters. Because I think the film runs about an hour and 48 minutes, so it's not super long. So I think even a couple more minutes of flashback sequences, really getting to know these characters, I think would have made the film even more effective for me personally. And that goes into my next negative point. I really do feel like more flashback sequences felt necessary here. Because the ones that they do use, whenever they have them, whether it's the Cooper Hoffman character or another one of these lead characters, they are very effective. They really do help you learn about some of these characters outside of them just walking on this long road over the course of the film. But I do feel like more of them felt needed as far as developing the characters even more and helping us learn about some of these characters even more than what we get to learn about them. I also thought some of the rules of the overall long walk competition were a little inconsistent too. It was just kind of vague as far as, is it just men that can compete? Are you allowed to bring food? Are you allowed to bring water? Are you allowed to bring this or that? There's just a lot of times in the movie where you just kind of wonder, this character really not think that through? Like, did some of them really forgot to bring food if they're allowed to bring it? Did some of them really forget to wear an adult diaper because of the no bathroom break rule? Did some of them really forget to check their shoelaces? And so there's a lot of stuff that happens over the course of this film. We're just like, did they really not think that through before the competition started? But there is a lot of inconsistent rules, like I said, of what you're allowed to bring with you. Is it just strictly men that can compete in this? Is it strictly just 18-year-olds on up that can compete in this and stuff like that? So there's just a lot of rules that I thought could have been better explained as to what you can and can't do in the long walk. Some of it is, but some of it could have been better too. And overall, too, there were some kind of annoying characters over the course of this film. Some of them really were just kind of there to aggravate people and stuff like that. So thankfully, there were some rules in place where they couldn't push or shove anybody. That rule was kind of established right away. They're not allowed to bring weapons, of course, onto this trip and stuff like that. But some of them just felt like they were annoying just to be annoying. And I really don't like when stories are written that way. It's just like, yeah, maybe an aggravation or two could have caused them to do something extreme, but I don't like it when a character's just written to be annoying just to be annoying. That feels like a very lazy way to write characters to me. So I thought there was a lot of that over the course of this film, unfortunately. And overall, too, I would have liked to see more real-world science being incorporated into this scenario, too. Like, can the human body even go without sleep for 5 days? Can the human body really go without pooping for a certain length of time? Can the human body really go without water for a certain... Like, there's just a lot of stuff while you're watching the movie. It's just like, can a character really go without that for that long? Or can a character really go without, like, sleep and all that other stuff for that long? So I thought some of that could have been better handled, because I thought some of that real-world science stuff that really probably couldn't work in a story like this in real life felt kind of noticeable here. But overall, guys, I'm going to give The Long Walk an 8.5 out of 10. I think it's a very good, effective movie. I really liked a lot of parts of it. The Pete character, like I said, was really cool. The Cooper Hoffman character was really cool, and a great performance from him, too. But like I said, quite a few negatives along the way that prevent this from being an absolutely terrific movie. But it is a very good film that I am going to give it 8.5 out of 10 to. I recommend seeing it if you're a Stephen King fan. But like I said, also make sure going in that there is a lot of devastating gun violent related stuff that happens in this movie. So if you're really kind of squeamish around that kind of stuff, there is quite a bit of it in this movie. So it's not quite a film for everybody necessarily, but if you're in a mood for a film that has interesting commentary on something and it has an interesting concept, and if you like Stephen King stories, I think it's worth checking out for those reasons. But like I said, go into it knowing that it's not perfect. There is some inconsistencies along the way too. But I do recommend seeing the film. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. Be sure to see The Long Walk if you're the right kind of audience for this.